जयति जगति मायां यस्य कायात् अवस्थे वचन रचनमेकं केवलं चाकलय्य ध्रुवपदमपि यातो यत्कृपातो ध्रुवोऽयं सकलकुशलपात्रं ब्रह्मपुत्रं नतोऽस्मि. On the last Wednesday, we spent a lot of time in further elaboration of the section 2 of the first chapter. And that is why we could not complete the third section. In between, lot of questions have come from Swami Yogatmananda. On one side, these questions are there. On the other side, we have to complete the third section today. And the completion of third section itself will be an answer to Yogatmananda Swamiji in certain matters. Certain matters. But today, we have to go very, very, very deep. Unless we go very deep, we cannot get answers to what Yogatmananda Swami has asked. Now, let us go sutra by sutra and see how we can approach that. So, we go back to the beginning of the third section, Bhakti Nirnaya. Satu Karma Jnana Yogebhyo Api Adhikatara. I told you, the intention of Narad is not to declare bhakti as superior to other paths, but to show the specific nature of the real bhakti as against our so-called bhaktis. And therefore the sadhu which appeared in the second sutra has come back here. That bhakti is adhikatara, more superior than karma, jnana and yoga. That bhakti, not any bhakti. Now, here at this point, let us try to understand what are these four paths. First is bhakti. And we have to go by Narada's definition of bhakti here. Bhakti is a force. The starting point is the nature of God. The starting point is purity of the mind. It takes man from where we are today. All of us potentially are divine. God is our real nature. We are not real. And so, the real nature has always a pull upon us, always, whether we are aware of that or not. The moment we are aware of that, our path becomes smoother. We are walking on that path, knowingly or unknowingly. All our attractions and repulsions in the world are reflections, sometimes distorted reflections of that very pull by which God is pulling us. So bhakti has its own starting point and it goes in its own direction. Now, karma. Karma is a halfway house. Karma means I am the doer. And we are using it to purify ourselves. To go beyond I am the doer, we are applying knowledge into it, we are applying bhakti into it, then only, as I told you the other day, Mr. Eckhart telling, if you purify your work, work will purify you. And after a point, no work is left in your mind. You go beyond work. And at that point, I request Brahmachari Tamal to show my figure at this point if possible. You will see a figure, he will show, the organizer will show. It is impossible to draw these things by figure, but I have made an attempt just now. So, karma of a house. People will immediately be angry on me. And they will say, Swami Vivekananda has taken it as a path. Yes, I accept. And if you read Swami Vivekananda's Karma Yoga, you will be illumined. But exceptionally what happens, from outside we see he is doing work. He has presented the figure, please. You will see one line, straight line, half of it is Karma Yoga, half of it is Jnana Yoga. At this point, Karma, instead of leading to Jnana, can lead to Bhakti on the right side. Bhakti is proceeding in its own line, crossing the Karma Jnana point at this point, going ahead. Yoga, I have yet to explain, but the yoga meets Jnana at a point and Bhakti at a point, and Jnana and Bhakti both meet at a point called God or the goal of life or our own real nature. Please remember this figure now. Okay. Tamal, can withdraw the figure. Now, in the rare cases, karma is seen from outside. Inside, and the doer is gone. These cases are always apavadatma, rare. And there, the Vedantic saying is, Drishyate natu tat karma yatha bhagavato vasudevasya. We see it as karma, it is not karma at all. As in the example of Shri Krishna himself. Shri Krishna says, I destroy the whole world, but I am not the destroyer. I give birth to this world, but I am not doing anything. So outside it is seen, God is doing everything. Inside God, there is no doership. That when comes to a man, as if karma is leading him further. As I told you, Narad Bhakti Sutra is mainly based upon Gita, and this full section is based upon Gita only. Now, Drishyate natu tat karma yatha bhagavato vasudevasya. This will explain how karma apparently leads up to mukti. Otherwise, karma, Gita tells us, sarvam karma akhilam partha jnane parisamapyate. So karma makes our mind pure. Now I have not yet defined jnana. Jnana is not at all information, I again and again repeat, is not at all intellectual conviction. Change of consciousness is called jnana. From the first day onwards, I have told you many times, our jnana or our consciousness today is that I am a jiva living in the midst of the world full of objects. And this is wrong knowledge. The Rishi's knowledge, Shri Ramakrishna's knowledge, Bhagavan Shri Krishna's knowledge is that reality is one without a second, Satchit Ananda, and that appears as my I, your I, his I, her I. And it appears through myriads of names and forms, and that is why it appears as many. Now, change of consciousness. Our consciousness goes away and is replaced by this divine consciousness. No, we cannot touch our consciousness as it is unless the mind is sufficiently pure. Today we are not consciousness at all. We are body, we are indriya, we are mind, we are I. So to come to this point, it takes a lot of karma to purify us. So jnana starts from a point which karma has led us to. Karma will lead at that point to bhakti also. We have to discuss that. But bhakti can start from where you are. Bhakti depends on the nature of God. For example, in Swami Vivekananda's Bhakti Yoga, he said, we are doing puja. This itself is bhakti. We are meditating. That is also bhakti. We are being pulled by God again and again and again. And again I am tempted to give your example. Unless all you are pulled, why have you come for this lecture? So there is a pull. And this pull is throughout humanity. But few of us, by His grace, have attained somewhat purity. We don't know why, how, and we are feeling that pull. Now this pull starts from where we are, pulls us, and meets jnana at a point, goes in its own direction. And ultimately, jnana and bhakti will become one. So, jnana is the later half of a particular path. Dharma is the original half of that very path. Now, one remains yoga. And this word is very, very, very difficult. Everybody has his own definition of yoga. The generally known yoga is Patanjali Yoga. And we have seen in those lectures, it is an incomplete yoga. If it shows us the nature of God, nature of ourselves, it will lead us to jnana. Now, yoga, suppression or repression apparently of all the lower faculties of man. That is why I defined that day. And when all the lower faculties of man, yes.
Just keep quiet and be nice to them. Just
Narad Bhakti Sutra. Yes, please, once more, the question. The question may be asked once more. Yes, you are asking. Please repeat your question, na? No. Have you put it on? Have you put it on the chat? You see, if you have patience, play before the end of the lecture. I will reply to every question.
No, Swamiji, it was a loose talk.
Huh?
He was talking to somebody else. Not
Anyway, wait now. Now let me take one by one. Patanjali Yoga, we have clearly seen, is an incomplete science. Okay? It may lead us to jnana.
Questions can be at the end. Questions may be at the end because your flow is
Maharaj is asking. Yes, please.
Questions may be at the end because your flow is getting obstructed. Because we are deeply absorbed in your flow, questions can be held at the end.
Yes. Okay. So, now, in the Gita, the meaning of yoga is Tat Prapti Upaya. We should understand this. Tat Prapti Upaya is yoga. And when Yogadnand Swami has asked, in the 6th chapter, at the end of the 6th chapter of the Gita, Bhagavan is telling, Tasmad Yogi Bhavarjuna. Karmibhyascha diko yogi, jnanibhyascha adhiko mata, tapasyabhyo diko yogi, tasmad yogi bhavarjuna. There, according to the meaning that yoga is tat prapti upaya, we have to find the meaning of karma jnana and tapasya. Where karma means karma for chitta shuddhi or mere karma. Jnana means their theoretical knowledge. Their jnana does not mean real knowledge. Because jnanibhyopi adhiko mataha, yogi. And tapasvi has no base. Tapasvi can be Ravan Kumbhakarna also. So, yogi adhiko mataha does not make yoga marga as higher than others. Tat prapti upaya is always higher. Mere karma, mere jnana, mere tapasya, compared to them, why I am translating mere? Because in the context of yogi is superior to them, these become the meaning. Now, we are telling that Patanjali Yoga is incomplete, but the result of all these paths is bhakti. That is what Narada told us here. If karma gives us enough chitta shuddhi, we will feel the pull. We will feel the pull strongly if the karma has given us sufficient chitta shuddhi. So the fall of karma is bhakti. Jnana, now later on we'll have more comparison with jnana because they are near each other, and when we go to the end we shall understand that. But more we know the nature of God, the more pull we are feeling. And in the Gita itself, in the 18th chapter and elsewhere, 7th chapter, knowledge of God emanates. 9th chapter, knowledge of God emanates. 10th chapter, knowledge of God, Vibhuti. 11th chapter, knowledge of God, Vishwarup Darshan. And all are full of bhakti only. The result of feeling God is everywhere is bhakti. The result of God is feeling everywhere and is transcendent is also bhakti. Seeing God's glory everywhere leads us to bhakti. Seeing Vishwarup Darshan has led Arjuna to bhakti. So the result of jnana in Gita is bhakti. But later on Narada will tell us bhakti leads to jnana. At the end, in the 55th shloka of the Gita, Bhaktya mam abhijanati yavan yashasmi tattvata tato mam tattvato gyatva vishate tadanantaram. Narada is referring to this. He is putting the whole 18th chapter before us in this section. It is by bhakti that the final knowledge comes. So, he is told Anya Anyashrayam iti Anya. Jnana is the source of bhakti, bhakti is the source of jnana. Same thing, he is not telling about karma and yoga mind. Karma is halfway house, yoga is incomplete. They may lead to jnana, they may lead to bhakti. After that, there is no use of them. So, we have to go by the spirit of Narada one by one. I think Yugatmandi's one question was whether about jnana also you cannot say that it is the result of these three. Yes, Narada accepts that, and that we shall see in the later sutras. In Narada's mind, or rather his guru's mind, Brahma Kumara has quoted, there is no difference between jnana and bhakti. They are obverse and reverse of the same coin. The more our consciousness changes, the more attraction we feel. The more pull we feel. The more pull we feel, the more is nature of revealed. Our consciousness changes. How is our consciousness going to change? It is only by the pull that consciousness is changing. So consciousness changes, pull becomes more. Pull takes us to God, consciousness changes. Jnana and bhakti are obverse and reverse of the same coin. This is not true about the other paths, karma and yoga. They have their limits, they have their limitations. If yoga is tat prapti upaya, once it pushes us into jnana or bhakti, it has no go. Karma, if it has given us chitta shuddhi, apparently I told karma may be seen from outside, but karma means I am the doer. Any interaction between subject and object is called karma, and this dies, this stops, and then only we get jnana, and then only we may get bhakti. Why I am using pause? Because bhakti is going on from the beginning. If you remember that figure which Tamal showed you, karma halfway, jnana further way. Bhakti starts and joins at this point and goes in its own way. Yoga at a later point joins jnana and bhakti. And finally, this bhakti and jnana join in one place called God or our real nature or our goal of life. Now, yes, he is showing the figure again, please. See the figure. Karma, jnana. Karma, bhakti. Bhakti starts here and goes ahead. Yoga meets jnana and meets bhakti. And then jnana and bhakti are colliding in a point called goal of life. Thank you, Daman. Withdraw, please. So, I think I am clear that we are going according to Narada, not my mind or your mind. Sadhu, the real bhakti, karma jnana yoga api adhikatara. We have given sufficient value to karma jnana and yoga by calling them adhika, but this is adhikatara. Yogatman Swami's one question was, can we not say the same thing about jnana? I said yes, 10%. And that Narada himself is telling by taking the name of his guru later on. And he has not said the same thing about karma and yoga, please. So, Phalarupatvat, we understood that bhakti is the result of karma, jnana and yoga. Jnana is the result of karma, bhakti and yoga, not same thing about karma and yoga. Okay? Then, nature of God. Ishwarasyapi abhimana dveshitvat dainya priyatvatcha. Now here again, jnana is coming into us by grades and steps. Up to a point, I is there in jnana. Up to Aham Brahmasmi, I is there in jnana. It is only after that that I is going to go away. In bhakti, according to nature of God, from the beginning, I has no place. From the beginning. When you feel I am loving God, it is actually God loving you. But the realization comes later. And the moment this realization comes, Narad Bhakti is there. It may come to a very ignorant, idiotic or beginner. But a beginner will feel God is pulling me, God is pulling me. So bhakti can start from where we are. Now, this is the nature of God. Abhimana dveshitvat. As I comes, the love is blocked. You cannot say the same thing about knowledge. In knowledge, I will give an example here. One of my friends, a brahmachari, and he did not take his name, went to Param Pujya Yatishwaran Maharaj, who was his guru, and the boy had joined in Bangalore. So he asked him, Maharaj, is not that we have to go beyond I? You know what Maharaj replied? First develop your healthy ego, then we shall see how the I will go. First develop your healthy ego. No, it is not told to all, huh? I know that brahmachari well. He has passed away recently. Morbid ego, tamoguni ego. I cannot do this, I cannot do that. So, Vijayatishwaranji told him, first develop your healthy ego, then we shall see. So, in knowledge, ego is required up to a point, and it goes in the final point. In bhakti, ego is not required from the beginning. Ego obstructs bhakti at every step. You will see in your own life. You will see in your own life what obstructs bhakti is I and my, nothing more. In jnana, I'm not criticizing jnana. In jnana, we start with analysis. This is not I, this is not God. All this depends upon I. But the pull in the heart does not depend upon this I. Now, this is not me, that is not me, this is not real, that is not real. It brings us to a point where we feel this last vestige of I is not real. Then I goes away. If you want, I will refer to you in Kathopanishad. The metaphysics is described. Indriyas are superior, mind is superior to Indriyas, Buddhi is superior to mind, the universal Buddhi is superior to all this, and Avyakta Prakriti is superior to all this, and Purusha is the last point. Now, after two mantras, Kathopanishad tells the process of dhyana. Indriyas are merged in mind, mind is merged in Buddhi, Buddhi is merged in universal Buddhi, and that is merged in Brahman. In our class, most revered Bhuteshananda Maharaj was teaching us Kathopanishad. One of my friends, it struck him and he said, Maharaj, is there no anomaly here? While describing metaphysics, he told Avyakta is superior to Mahat and Purusha is superior than Avyakta. But in meditation, he has not taken the name of Avyakta. From Mahat, he says Purusha. Is it an anomaly? Is it not an anomaly? Bhuteshan Maharaj spontaneously replied, no, my boy, one should never meditate on Avyakta Prakriti. If I is lost, you cannot meditate further. If I is lost, you cannot go to Brahman. I has to be kept till the end. In the end only it will go to Brahman. So while meditating, you have reached the point where you are the whole universe, Hiranyagarbha. From there, don't go to the Avyakta. From there, meditate on Brahman, Purusha. I never forget that incident and obliged to that friend also and Bhuteshanji also. You asked that question and I got flash, reply in a flash. So now going so deep, I will tell you, in jnana, I is maintained and lost at a last stage. In very simple language, Ramakrishna's disciple, Latu Maharaj, illiterate person, Adbhutan Swami, used to say, we have to lose our eye and we have to find our eye. We have to lose our eye and we have to find our eye. It also means the same thing. So now, we have seen the difference between jnana and bhakti, but they are obverse and reverse of the same coin. Two approaches. One approaches through intellect and analysis, the other approaches through heart. And the more the analysis shows you the nature of God, the more the love increases. Without love, your knowledge is not knowledge. It is a dry, rotten thing. Unless you feel that pull, you cannot proceed in knowledge. It will simply become a dry intellectual analysis. And you will die in that analysis. And Swami Vivekananda said, if you allow freedom to the reason, without taking hold of this truth, it will lead you to nihilism. It will not stop short of nihilism. So you have to use the reason very carefully. And he has also told us, if there is a quarrel between reason and heart, follow heart. Anyway, so now we come to the Ishwarasyapi Abhimana Dveshitvat has the meaning that in the real nature of God, any I does not stand. And Daina Priyatvat, that means, I explained that very clearly. Daina is not morbidity. Daina is not what I can do, I cannot do anything, I cannot do anything. This is Tamoguna. Daina means I am not there, God alone is there. This is called Daina. So we took example from Nagmasha and Girish Babu. And I did not tell you the conclusion of that story that day. Nagmasha's thing was repeated to Girish Babu. And Girish Babu understood. Now Girish Babu is a dramatist now. So he has made a rupak on that, an allegory. He says Maya could not catch two people, Narendranath or Swami Vivekananda and Nagmasha. Maya took a big and bigger net, and Narendranath grew bigger than that net, so he could not be caught. That is that expansion of I am telling you. And Maya brought a very fine net, finer net. Nagmasha escaped through any fine hole. So it could not catch Nagmasha. You understand Girish Babu's language? I am Brahman and I am nothing. Brahman is true. You remember? Ian Banerjee, he became satisfied with this answer. He was asking difference between Jnana and Bhakti. I told him that Brahman is everything and I am not only Brahman is. I am Brahman and I am not only Brahman is. Is there any difference? Are there not only two languages or two approaches? So, this is what happens. This is the Dainya. Now we come to that comparison between knowledge and bhakti because they are very close to each other. Tasya jnanameva sadhanamiti. I explained to you now. Jnana alone is the sadhan for bhakti. It is on the basis of Gita. I told you chapter 7, 9, 10, 11 and 18th also. Knowledge is shown as leading to love of God. And so there is a big strong support for this side. AK means one side. And Narada is not criticizing that side. There is a big support in the Gita. Anyanya shretvam iti anne. But there is another party. It says knowledge leads to bhakti, bhakti leads to knowledge, knowledge leads to bhakti, bhakti leads to knowledge. This also has full support in the Gita. Till the culmination, bhaktya mama vijananti. From the beginning, Bhagavan is telling this only. If you are real bhakti, you will get knowledge. So, this is what. Now I am remembering one incident from the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. After Sri Ramakrishna's Samadhi, in the Varanagar Mutt, Swami Vivekananda is talking about somebody to Master Maharaj. And Swami Vivekananda says, so and so says, I want jnana. And Swamiji says, I am telling him first develop your bhakti, then jnana will come. Remember this conversation is there? Find out about whom and where toward the end of the gospel. So, this is the mutual dependence. Now, here comes Narada's Guru. He tells Swayam Palarupata iti Brahma Kumaraha. Brahma Kumar, Sanat Kumar, out of respect, plural is used. Swayam Palarupata. What is telling? He is telling why you are quarreling between Jnana and Bhakti. Jnana also is Swayam Palarupata, Bhakti also is Swayam Palarupata. He is not taking the name here. Sanat Kumar is not telling it is about Bhakti, about Jnana. Others are left behind now. Karma Yoga are left behind. But Jnana, Swayam Palarupata. When the knowledge of, when our consciousness starts changing, I will give an example now, both together. The common known to you people, all people in India at least, the sweet called jalebi. Jalebi sweet, all of you remember? If Americans and others are there, they should go to some Indian shop and see jalebi. Now, jalebi has to be properly made. The maida, the ghee, the kneading and frying and everything should be perfect. And this perfected jalebi is put in perfect syrup. And then what is done? By jara or something, you give a little pressure. So what happens? You tell me what happens. Some people will say that syrup is entering the jalebi. I will say the jalebi is entering the syrup. Syrup goes on entering jalebi, jalebi goes on entering syrup, till they have become one, till it is being filled with syrup. This is Jnana and Bhakti going together. There is Anandam. The last step between Jiva and Brahman is Anandam. The moment you feel united with God in any way whatsoever, whether it is in the Bhakti way, I am the son of God, I am this God, whether it is in the Jnana's way, that God is my reality, in any way you have formed some union with God. And the first result is Ananda. And this Ananda is that syrup. Huh? Ananda is entering you, you are entering Ananda. What happens? You become one with God. This is how Bhakti is leading to Ananda, to Jnanpur. Understood this? So, Jnana and Bhakti, though different in approach, are obverse and reverse of the same coin. Tell me now. Syrup, jalebi is entering syrup. This is knowledge. Syrup is entering jalebi. This is Bhakti. So, my American friends, you must see what is jalebi. Huh? Now, this is Brahma Kumara Swayam Palarupata. He says knowledge once comes, grows and grows and grows until it reaches perfection. Bhakti once comes, grows and grows and grows until it reaches its perfection. Bhakti, at that point you may say it does not require knowledge. Knowledge at that point you may say it does not require bhakti, but they are together. Now, for this, Narada is giving examples. Mind you, these examples he is giving for bhakti and jnana together. They are all from books on Vedanta, all the three examples. You do not find these examples in any book on bhakti, any book on bhakti, except Narada Bhakti Sutra. And here I will tell that Sharma's book, which I recommended to all of you, with the rider that one or two places the translation has gone wrong. This is one of the places. I will read first of all now. You open that sutras if you are in that book. Raja Gruha Bhojanadishu Tataiva Drishtatvat. One Adi also is there. There are three examples, Raja, Guru and Bhojan and Adi. In that book, Raja Dhruva is made one, House of the King. And at that place, Tyagi Shanji's book, a translation is correct. One more sutra will be like that. Only in 2 sutras that Sharma's translation should be changed. Now, what are these examples? Raja. There was the son of a king. He is Raja. But at the birth time or in childhood, something happened. And he was taken care of by some, what we call Nishadas, Veils, tribal people. He did not know he is a Raja. At much later stage, he came to know that he is the Raja. Now, the 2 sutras I am taking together anyway. So, he might have fought wars, or he must have claimed his kingdom and got the kingdom. From the next sutra we have to see together. Na tena Raja paritosha chud shantirva. 3 examples are there. So he did not become Raja by that, by his efforts, by his war, by his claim. He became Raja because he was Raja, not because of any efforts. This is Swayam Palarupata. Many people ask me what sadhana we should do. One question has come here that japa and meditation, will they count as Naradiya Bhakti? Japa is an action. Japa is a karma. Can any karma? Anyway, karma will give you bhakti in the end. Meditation for many people means many things. If meditation you are doing, it is a karma. If meditation is happening, it is jnana or bhakti. People say we are meditating, we are doing meditation. We can attempt to do meditation. Meditation happens. Meditation is not done. Then means I am doing. But when the mind becomes purer and purer, it catches God. It catches God, it becomes steady in God. That is meditation. Anyway, so he did not become a king because of his efforts. Had it not been a king, the test is like that. Had it not been a king, how could I have become a king? No, all efforts were done. You may say without effort. Simply by claiming also he became. So, this is the example given in Vedanta books, Yoga Vasishtha and other books. Na tena Raja. By his efforts, he was not the king. He was king because he was the king. This is Swayam Palarupata. By your effort, you are not getting jnana. You are getting jnana because that is your real nature. If your real nature is not God, you can never attain God. Never, never, never. If you attain something, it goes away. Because God is your real nature, therefore you are getting God. He is applying this to bhakti in Narada. Because your real nature is God, you are being pulled to God. And by that pull itself, you will realize your real nature, not by any effort. All efforts at a stage have to be stopped. In the Kathopanishad, how yoga is described, when the Pancha Jnanendriyas stop along with the mind and this buddhi or I, they do not work, then that is the Paramagati. It is very difficult to understand this point, but all of you must understand this point. Example is given in Gospel. A crow was sitting on the mast of a ship. Along with the ship, it has gone to the middle of the sea. It feels I will get drowned in the sea. So it flies to the east. It does not get land anywhere. Comes back. It goes to the west, north, south. And then he understands, I am quite safe on this mast. So all our efforts are made to understand that we do not require any effort. All our efforts are required to tell us what is our real nature. All our efforts are necessary to feel the pull for God. So Tena Raja na abhavat. He did not become king by any of his efforts, but because he was the king. Now second is Groh. Groh means your house. Your house. You have gone out on tour. You have gone out to many foreign countries for 1 year or 2 years perhaps. You are touring or working in other country. Now you come back to your house. When you come back to your house, do you not feel relieved? Do you not feel contentment? Oh, I have come to my house. If your friend comes to that house, he will not feel like that because that is not his house. Now you are feeling this relief not because you had gone out, but because it is your own house. Because it is your own house, so you are feeling happy coming back to the house. So natena paritosha. Paritosh, satisfaction. You are not getting by any other thing. You are getting because Groh. It was your own house. Say, man somehow has gone out of his house, we do not know, for work or for anything. And then for some years he has spent outside. And somehow he comes back to the house. And the amount of satisfaction he gets, you must see that. So this example is given in books of Vedanta, and that Narada is giving here in the case of Bhakti. That you have got pull of God, not by this or this, because God is pulling you, so you got the pull. Because that pull will take you finally to God, not because of you, but because non-you, not because of any effort. Please remember this. If we get something by our effort, it is like karma getting karma phala, and it is temporary. When all efforts stop, Sri Krishna is a beautiful example on this. Beautiful. One lady asked him, I wish always to think of God, dedicate to God, but I am not able to do sometimes. What shall I do? He said, like a eaten leaf. We eat on leaves, na? Plantain leaf or pattal made of this or that. After eating, we throw away. And big storm has come. A leaf thrown in a big storm. Be like that. That is what you do. Meaning is stop all your effort. And he said, Chaitanya Vayu, wherever it takes, let it go. Chaitanya Vayu is God. So, strange thing to hear. Understood? Whether you are doing japa or dhyana, you are doing something. That will push you forward, that will purify your mind, but you will get Narada Bhakti or you will get God when you float into that storm. Just give up your eye. That moment you realize God. And all effort, self-effort is for destroying self. All our effort is for destroying I. A beautiful poem is there by Rabindranath Tagore on this point. There is a poem in English, huh? Oh Lord, give me the strength. That is how the poem starts. Oh Lord, give me the strength to stand for justice. Oh Lord, give me the strength to fight injustice. So many strength he is asking. Fight, stand at the time of temptation, stand at the time of calamities. And in the end he says, Lord, give me the strength to surrender my strength to you with love. Lord, give me the strength to surrender my strength to you with love. That is the final strength. So all our efforts in life are to see that this I vanishes. This is Swayam Padaru. One more example is there. Huh? Raja Gruha Bhojan. No, a man is healthy by nature. He's not feeling hungry all the time. Huh? He's satisfied. He's filled. But now something happens in his body is going on and he feels hunger. So food is given to him. He eats that food and feels satisfied. Chut Shanti. Chut Shanti. That means the appeasement of hunger is not by food Narada is telling. Then by what? Because previously you were happy. Previously you had no hunger. So eating food has filled you. If a disease comes, man's hunger never gets satisfied. He'll go on eating and eating and eating. Any amount of food will not give him that satisfaction. But man is supposed to be healthy. Man is supposed to be filled up. In between something has come. You have removed it. That's all. So we realize God because God is our real nature. In between all these problems have come. You know what Shankaracharya tells about this hunger? Beautiful. If we can follow, that is different thing. Shud vyadhischa chikitsatam pratidinam bhikshaushadam bhujyatam. This Shuddha is a chronic disease, he says. Every day we are feeling that hunger. So we have to treat it, chikitsatam. This bhikshaushadi, that means it is for sannyas in the baked food. And by that baked food, use it as a medicine every day. Now, I thought when I was in Rishikesh in 78, 79, and I saw many people, perhaps, I don't know whether my reading was correct or not, Shud Vyadhischa Chikitsatam Pratidinam. I thought it means taking food only once a day. And almost 1 year, I existed there taking food only once a day. Of course, in Rishikesh, because you can drink Ganges water to your satisfaction anyhow. So, anyway, I'm not asking you to eat food only once, but Shud Vyadhischa Chikits. Because it is a Vyadhi, you take treatment. Otherwise, do you go every day to doctor? If you got a bimari, if you got disease, we go to a doctor, take some medicine. We were not cured by that. About this cure, I will tell you a very funny thing. One of my friends, allopathic doctor, MD and all that, but he knew some Indian thought university. He was a very good student with me. Now he says, sometimes doctors say, I cured him. He says, in spite of me, he was cured. Some people, some doctors say, we give medicine, God cures. Some doctors say, I cure. He says, in spite of us, he was cured. So, it is not doctors who are curing. You are cured because God cures you, or because you are healthy by nature. So you regain your health. If you are not healthy, how you can regain it? I remember that, friends. So I told you this story. In this connection, some fun is coming in my mind. In Nagpur, a very big campus, government medical college and hospital was built. And by somebody's mistake, on both the gates, in was written. On one gate, there should be in and the other should be out. But by somebody's mistake, on both gates, in was written. I'm telling just a joke, huh? Then the students, they used to say, people come in, they do not go out, they go above only from here. Because there is an out from here. Anyway, so I remember that friend of mine, and he says, in spite of me, they were cured. I told you a similar story about Swami Kailashananji telling, in spite of me, the mutt has grown. Not that I help it to grow. So, please, you have understood now? The whole effort of life is to smash this shadow eye, to smash this rascal eye, to smash this apparent eye, and get the real eye, which is nothing but God, through love and attraction, through analysis, as you like. And we in the Ramakrishna Mission or anywhere, we can use a combination of both of them. We can analyze as well as feel the pull. We'll go on feeling the pull as well as analyze. We'll sing bhajans, we'll dance out of joy. And we'll go on analyzing also. And using meditation also, japa also. We'll go on doing karma for purification also. So, one sutra still remains. And that sutra is very important. The last sutra in this section, Tasmat. Tasmat, that means Narada says, I have described now everything related to this bhakti. And I have shown you how it is Swayampada Rupada. Tasmat, sa eva grahya mumukshuvi. Sa eva. Don't jump into conclusion, so bhakti should be taken. Narada is never telling that. That bhakti, sa, which came in second sutra, sa, which came in this 25th sutra, that very bhakti, that means Narada is telling here, don't go running after this or that bhakti. Please accept that bhakti, which I have been describing up to now, which is the Phalaroop of Jnana and everything. And not that he's saying don't go after Jnana, don't go after other type of bhaktis. Sa eva grahya. If you are a mumukshu, if you want mukti, here the one point is raised. Remember? They are there today? Yes. My friends, Madan Mathur. He represented the school of Bhakti when I first wrote the book of Narad Bhakti Sutra. He says many people say Bhakti is Panchama Purushartha. You have heard this word? You have heard of 4 Purusharthas? Dharma, Artha, Kama and Moksha. He says Bhakti is Pancham Purushartha. But Narada does not say so. What can I do? Narada says if you are a mumukshu, that means moksha is your purushartha. Freedom from the bondages, freedom from ignorance, freedom from the shatters which everything is binding us. Freedom is the goal of life. And that freedom, if you are coveting, you must accept this real bhakti alone. Real bhakti as contrasted with other bhaktis, not that he is asking us not to take knowledge, he has equated them both by the name of his guru. So this last sutra is sa eva, the real bhakti alone. Grahya is to be accepted by mumukshus. When you are desirous of mukti, you should accept this, get your mukti. Now, this completes our first chapter called Bhakti Swarupa. Now, this is a path and we are all on some side path. Now, it requires a sadhana to achieve this bhakti. This bhakti in our life, though it is natural, it has not come in our life. That also we know. So, the second chapter, full, describes the sadhana you require for bhakti and how bhakti goes on developing in your life, how you come to the final love of God, how you get mukti, how you get realization of God. This also has been divided in 3 sections. Bhakti sadhanani, means of bhakti. Then Maya Santarana, how one crosses beyond Maya and Prema Swarup, the nature of the love of God. So these three sections, second chapter, also dealing with the pure, real bhakti only, up to Sutra 55, we can take from the next Monday. Om Jayati Jagati Mayam Yasya Kayadavaste Vachana Rachanamekam Kevalam Chakalaya Dhrupadamapi Yato Yat Krupato Dhruvoya Sakala Kushala Patram Brahmaputram Natosmi. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hare Om Tat Sat. Shri Ramakrishna Arpanam.